forever to make one change per calendar. So I'm going to see if that first one worked, and then towards the end of the class, we'll work through the other ones. Cool. Okay. All right. Just get my view back up here. First week of class is always something, you know. Let's see. Cool. All right, let's share my screen. Also, if you know any of your classmates who may be in the same situation, let me know. We'll figure that out. Okay. Check that out again. Cool. Okay. Vanessa, I think Vanessa, I think you said you weren't in that class. I'm just looking at it now that my Teams is updated. It says you're in it. You've been added. So I don't know. Maybe have a look while I'm also teaching. Let's see. Maybe Teams is really buggy. So it's possible that they have been added, and Teams is just taking a long time to update. So we'll work through that together.
I'm added in the group, but there's no classes for it in my schedule, on my calendar.
Really? Huh. Okay, cool. I'll have a look into that afterwards. All right, let me start recording. Okay, well, already we're recording, so thanks to the person who did record. Okay, all right, yeah, thanks for your patience on that. We'll get that sorted out. And for classes as well, the next two classes, Thursday and Tuesday, coming up, those two classes I will be sending out YouTube links in our class meetings channel for you to watch those classes. I won't be here. I will leave the meeting. Actually, I can't do that because I need to admit you all. So maybe I'll just cancel them from our schedule, but I will send them out. Usually I like to leave the class open so that you can all, help each other out or just have more of a workshop type class. But with the new admin changes, I don't think that's possible anymore because I would need to admit you all. Again, won't be here for the next 2 days because I am heading down to the Apple HQ to test out the Vision Pro. So pretty excited about that stuff. I can't wait to share all the learnings there. Okay, all right. So did anyone have, explore the Disney Plus design, which is what we started looking at last class? Do I have any questions on that? Kind of fun. Cool. All right. So this time we are just going to take our time with it a little bit more, and I'll, slow it down. Last time I was just working through it pretty quickly, but let's just slow it down here. Fold. Okay, is that the one? Yeah. There we go. So we're going to create a prototype, and let's just start from the beginning there again. All right. You can all see my screen well. Any changes there? Does text look okay to see? On every single time, depending on bandwidth, and that look as we'd want. Okay, cool, all good. All right, thanks. Perfect. All right, so this is the UI that we started building out last class. We worked through it pretty quickly, trying to introduce you to the general UI if you haven't seen it before, and how to start manipulating some elements here so you can start creating great designs. So again, to revise on class 1, again, what is the purpose of design? Again, you're solving problems for people, and we're going to leverage Figma to, visualize your ideas and to also use these so you can also test them with people. Again, demystifying design in general. You're all creative people. I'm here to encourage you to do more of it. And number 3, we're just going to demystify the design tools. It looks really complex. It looks complicated. I can totally see that, but it's really not complicated at all. Instead, we're going to leverage the tool to design. So I don't want us to become Figma experts. I want us to become experts at design because the tools change all the time. And yeah, oh, and the other thing too, I don't think I touched on it as much last time, but you know, I want us to design not just for, you know, for the web or for mobile devices. There are going to be new devices that come out. You know, there's an Apple keynote event today. I doubt they're going to have a brand new device on like last time they had an event, but things change all the time. So I want us to design for all kinds of platforms. You can use the techniques here for any product that you're designing and building. All right. Now, one cool thing here, you see someone else here. I think it's Amy. If you want to follow along, you can. I'll send this link and we can be in the same Figma file together, which is a really cool, you know, Figma feature for sure. So I'll slow it down a little bit more. Unlike last time, I went through it pretty quickly. A couple of things that can maybe be difficult or hard to use or hard to understand that can make the tool feel frustrating is how to zoom in and zoom out. Did anyone try this out over the weekend or try this for yourself? And you know, we're trying to figure that out. Did you find that complicated? Or if you have any questions on how to do that? There's a couple of things. Say you want to pan around. Yeah, it is like the phone. And depending if you're using a trackpad or if you're using a mouse, the way you navigate can be very different. So for example, I'm actually on a Magic Mouse, so I can kind of pan around. Another way you can pan around is if you hold down the space bar on your keyboard and you click and drag, it'll move the entire canvas around. So this will almost feel like second nature, and you start using it. You just click and drag and move it around. So that's one way to pan around. Now zooming in, zooming out is Command or Control minus and plus. So you'll use that a lot. One that I use a lot to zoom into something is, let's say I want to zoom in to this Pixar logo, right? I want to go and look at that area of that file. I can zoom in directly into that. Now, how did I do that? If you click on the Z key on your keyboard and you click and drag to create almost like this blue box there, it'll highlight where you want to zoom into. So in this case, I'm like zooming into like this Mandalorian image, and it'll zoom me right into that area. So instead of manually zooming in and zooming out and then panning around to get to where you want to go, hold down Z and then click and drag, and it'll drag you to that area. Other couple of good keyboard shortcuts. Again, this will feel like second nature as you start using this. This is why all my classes, I think, except for 2, are not PowerPoint, because like we'll actually, as you use it, we'll figure all these things out and it'll feel more like second nature. Over here on the top right, for me, it says 50%. This is the zooming in and zooming out. So if you ever want to remember those shortcuts, you need to memorize them. They'll feel like second nature, but they are right here as well for you. The one that I find is the most useful is Command 0. I think it's Control 0 on the PC. And this takes you to a actual size of what this design is going to look like on a device, on a website, mobile device, and so on. This gives you the actual 1-to-1 pixels. So sometimes this, you know, the pictures actually look bigger than this because I am zoomed out, but zooming in, this is the actual view. Now, again, this is getting cut off here. So depending on your monitor size and so on, sometimes you want to look at your entire design, but you have all this UI from Figma. If you ever want to remove that, Command or Control 0 removes all the menus. So if you just want to have a clean look at your design, Command period will toggle those for you. So just a couple of things, but just zooming in, panning around will be some of the biggest things. And again, they will feel like second nature. Let me see my chat here. Okay. all this beeping of people coming in. I wonder how I can turn that off. Those. The charging port and the magic mouse. That's amazing. Yeah, good memes out there. How do you get out of the Zoom after using the Z click and drag? I'm stuck in Zoom. You're stuck in Zoom? Cool. Try command. Are you on the Mac there or PC? Command minus or plus. Yeah. Oh, in the top right corner. Perfect. Yeah. And so from that top right corner, good question, you can see all the ways you can get out. So usually Command 0 on the Mac will take us back to like the original view. And then again, you can zoom out a little bit more as well. Or we can toggle these out, zoom in, zoom out. Okay. All right. Yeah. Seems like we're getting more people. It's all good. It's just, I don't know if it's chat or someone come in. Okay. Okay. Okay, awesome. I think I answered all your questions. Please drop them in there or raise your hand and I will be happy. Sometimes the raising the hand, I can't always see because I can only see a couple of avatars. So if that is the case, I'm not ignoring you. Maybe drop in like a message in the chat and I will see it there. Okay, so I'm going to share. I don't know if you've all played with this over the weekend. Maybe you ran into this. I'm just going to move some things around. Again, to move things around, again, this is just an image. You can just click and drag. Okay, so this is funny thing that Ethan there. You can get people to follow you in this, which is cool. I'll talk about that after. But again, to move anything around, just click and drag it. Just like anything else, just click and drag. But one thing that you'd notice is that zip file that I sent last class. This image that we had here was really, really big. It was probably like this size. And does anyone know, first of all, before I get to the Figma thing here, does anyone know why this image, and again, I got this image directly from the Disney Plus website. Why would the image be this big? Way larger than the viewport that we have. The viewport meaning, like, you know, in this case, we're designing it for the web browser. Why is it double the size of the actual screen? Of the actual size? You know, we don't actually want it to be over 2600. We want it like much smaller. Why is it double the size? Does anyone know? Ah, yes, it is about quality. And we'll talk about this later on in terms of how pixels and retina screens and all that stuff works. But that's exactly it. These screens that we have now have way more pixels. And so for the images to look really crisp, they need to be double the size and almost shrunken down to give us that high quality for that image. So this is why images will be almost sometimes double the size. Or assets you may have for as you're developing products. Sometimes you may have images that, you know, we'll say like main image at 2x and so on. It's like, what does all that mean? It means we're trying to design for retina screens. So that's exactly it. And so for us, we're going to want to reduce the size. So how do we reduce the size of an image? Well, you have these anchors again on the corners of your image. You can click and drag to resize. Now I am holding shift while I, that's funny comment. You hold shift as you're resizing to keep the aspect ratio. Now, if I let go of shift while I'm clicking and dragging, the aspect ratio gets lost and you'll get all this cropping on your image. So just hold down shift is usually what I do. Sometimes, let's say, I'll show you another trick. I'm in here and this image looks good right there, even though this image is getting cropped. And why is it getting cropped? Well, it's getting cropped because our frame, we're saying we're building for, I think in this case, the MacBook. Anything outside of that, we don't want to see because we just want to have this frame of what the actual user is going to see. Now I have it centered, and the nice thing about Figma is as I am dragging something, it'll try to align it to the screen. In this case, there's a red line in here. Sorry if it's hard to see on screen share. But let's say I want to resize that image. But then again, it's already centered, so I don't want to be doing this and then moving it back and forth. So another trick here is go Shift and Option, click and drag, and now it will resize from the center. So if you're looking to increase the size of something or reduce it, Shift and Option, okay? This is, I use this all the time. Another nice thing here that just showed up, which again, why I don't like using PowerPoint, because you can't put everything in PowerPoint or slides. Check this out. I'm going to resize, and look at that. You see it went upside down. If this ever happens to you, you didn't do anything wrong. I've still yet to figure out the reason why this is the thing. But if you click and drag and resize too much, the image flips for some weird reason. I gotta do some like math and research why that happens. If that ever happens and you want to undo something, Command Z or Control Z, and it'll bring you right back to where you are. So, you can always experiment, and then you can always undo. All right, just like using Microsoft Word or any other tool, the undo button is always there for you. Cool. And if you ever, let's see if I got a version history now, perfect. And if you ever make a bunch of changes and you kind of want to go back, even in the free version, you can go back to previous designs that you had there by going and looking at your version history. You can bring those designs back as well. All right, so we did the resizing bit. I think this is what we talked about before. Again, like I said in the first class, is if you can draw a rectangle, you're 90% of the way there. So last time what I did to create these thumbnail placeholders is I went and selected a rectangle, which again, R on your keyboard. We're going to be using rectangles a lot. So if you remember using R on your keyboard, clicking and dragging to make a size, just practice doing that a lot, because that is really the base for our designs. Okay, so that's what I did. And then again, I just changed to the sizing. So we can type in the sizing here when we need an accurate sizing, and height 154. And after that, all I did there was add a fill. And again, for us, our fill are things like changing colors. Just a fancy way of saying what color do you want this thing to be, and we can add a gradient for it. All right, so again, I can move these around, change the gradients. I can add a bunch of other colors if I really wanted to, but it's just creating gradients there. And this is about pretty straightforward. And again, you can always undo this as well. Command Z or Control Z and back to the beginning. I'll just recreate this real quick to show you. For me, I'm going to select that eyedropper tool. Colors. Did I select that right color? No, I didn't. Here we go. And I will select the bottom color real quick to just make this. Can I show you how easy it is? There are some other gradients here as well that you can use. There's things like radial. So what does this thing mean? Well, again, it's almost like a circle gradient there. You can also do things like angular. Hard to kind of see this one. Let me change the color. It kind of looks like that. So you can use that things for like loading, animations, and so on that you can use that for. But for us, we'll just leave it at linear. I'm just going to go through this real quick. Our border radius here is 8. And then we'll use our stroke. And we will change that. I think the stroke is 3. So there we go. It's just that easy to take, a pretty basic rectangle and start making it look like something. And again, this is what Disney Plus is using in their UI. And now we started adding our logos here, clicking and dragging them into our designs to create kind of this look. And now we want to align all these. You'll see all these here are not aligned really well. The spacing's off. So trying to space all these things together can be time consuming. So Figma has a really great tool for us to fix that. I'll show you what that is. Again, I'm going to show you the key repetitive things that we're going to use, and all this is going to do, the whole purpose of this is to save you tons of time and to make things way easier for you. You can just focus on designing versus like, wasting 5 minutes trying to align all this stuff and having perfect spacing in between. It's very simple. So we take one element, and again, we want to duplicate an element. How do we do that? You click and drag Option, to click and drag to make another one. You can do Command V, copy and paste to create another one. What's another way to duplicate? There's a whole bunch of ways. But again, I think Command D, Control D makes another copy. So a bunch of ways, whichever way you feel most comfortable. I don't know why I've gotten into this habit, but I hold down Option on my keyboard, click and drag, and that just makes a copy. That's one way. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you this tool called Auto Layout. So check this out. So see how this row here is kind of not aligned at all or have equal spacing? Well, there's a tool in Figma that can help us with this. I can select two of the layers. That's how we can start. And if you do Shift A, it wraps them into a auto layout. Or you can right click and you can find it in auto layout right here in this menu. Now, the reason why I say these two methods of doing it with your keyboard shortcut under this right click more menu, is because sometimes when you select the multiple layers, you won't see the option over here on the right-hand side menu. Sometimes it shows up, sometimes it doesn't. Really frustrating. I don't know the logic behind it. So for you not to be frustrated with this, I know for sure you can always do an auto layout by right-clicking it and seeing it there if you forgot how to do the keyboard shortcut. Or if it does show up, you can just click plus and it adds it to a auto layout. And now I'll take a screenshot and you'll see that my layers over here on the left have this new look to them. You can see mine here because screen share is really, really bad. Frame one. You'll see here it has a new kind of icon next to it. That is just telling us that we have layers in an auto layout. You can name these things anything you want. Instead of frame one, I'm just going to call it a row. Doesn't really matter. But you can see this now. You know, before I was doing like Option, click and drag, and so on. But because this is in auto layout now, when I do click Command, copy and paste, or Control C and V, it automatically places the next element in perfect spacing and alignment. I didn't have to do anything else at all. I then click and drag, duplicate, realign the item, space it out. It just remembers the spacing and the alignment. And there we go. That is done. I want to move this over here to show you something pretty cool. When you have auto layout, you're going to have this new menu on the right. Let's bring this up. Okay. And I'm just make it much larger so you can see it in the screen share because the menu is kind of small to see. Our auto layout, you can do a couple of things. You can do directions. So if you want the auto layout to go up and down, I'll show you what this looks like. I'll select my row and I'll click this down arrow, boom, and it aligns it up and bottom. Really cool. I didn't have to do anything. It's just one click of a button. It'll save you so much time. Now over here, you see the number 11? That is just the spacing that we have between these elements. And you can type in something like 24, and they all get spaced out evenly, 24 pixel spacing in between all of them. That will save us a lot of time. You can also click and drag from the icon to position to add spacing to these as well, if you want to do it that way. For us, we'll do something like 8 pixels and click enter, and then that will modify it, okay? Those are a couple of things. We'll go back to all these other ones, all these other options later on. This one here, this like dot grid, is just the alignment of where we want the elements to be. We'll come back and touch more on that afterwards, but usually this is a good default. If you don't see that default, you'll see like a gray circle. You just click on that and it'll highlight that area for you. All right, so that's auto layout. So we can go and delete all these things. And I can just bring this over now. And let's look at how nice that looks. It's just nice and clean and tidy up. Now in our UI, if we feel like, you know what, that is looking like they're too close together, no big deal. You can go in and type in 12 and have 12 pixel padding in between, and maybe that is looking a little bit more, a little bit better. It looks like they can breathe a little bit more. All right, now for spacing. one thing, if you're designing something, 8 pixel grids. What does that mean? Everything that you're trying to do, trying to figure out, can it be divided by 8 or count by 8? So if I'm thinking about spacing, like I just tried 8 pixels, that didn't really work. Or in this case, it's 12, so it's not 8, but if you go from 8 to 16 is too much, divide that by 2 again, which gives us, 4. So count on by 4. We'll talk about more of that later. But try to count by 8 or 4s in your decision for spacing and sizing. We'll talk about more about that. The 8 pixel grid is something that every single tech company that I know uses into their designs for thinking about spacing and sizing for things like icons and layouts and so on. But quickly touch on that. Okay, cool. So now we have this row, which we solved one problem, which is our spacing and alignment and so on, which we will do a lot of in this class. But now there is a problem that we need to solve for as well. Oh, nice. Someone made a text file with all the Figma keyboard shortcuts. That's incredible. Thanks for sharing that. You're helping each other out in chat. Thanks for that, because I totally missed that. The question was, how do I add a lighter border? So yeah, so you select your element, you go to stroke, you click that plus icon, and then you can change the stroke color and size. So nice. So, all right. Thanks for helping each other out there. So now we have a new problem, right? We fixed the alignment issue and all that stuff. But let's say in the future, we change our mind a little bit. Or in this case, we want to have a very, very subtle drop shadow on this element. So if we just add a drop shadow, it's going to be super subtle, and we'll just leave the default there. If you're following me in Figma, you can see that there is a subtle shadow there. But then, if you want to add that to every one of these, you have to go back and go one by one and add them. That seems like a lot of work. And what if we had a client and we're looking at this together and would say, you know what, we got that color wrong for our gradient. It probably needs to look something like this. Again, I'm making this up just to illustrate a point. Maybe we want these to be blue instead. That would mean I would have to go and recreate all this all over again, and that wouldn't be very fun. But let me show you something cool. Delete these again because we know how to make an auto layout. And what I'm going to do is every single element that we have, we can make them into a component. Now, what does a component mean? Essentially, think about it as like a template, as a copy, where if I make a change to the main component, it applies to every other component, every subcomponent from it. So let me show you what I mean by that. So we have this here, and one way you can tell that your component, one thing is just a basic layer and one is a component, is you can right-click, create component. For me personally, I don't even have this keyboard shortcut memorized. Full disclosure, there's too many things to memorize. Don't feel like you have to memorize all the keyboard shortcuts, but if you want to, it's right there on how to do that. I'm going to click create component. And now it's turned into a purple layout. And this is telling us now that this layer is different. And we're going to rename it. We're going to just call this like logo thumbnail. You can name these any way that you want. Okay. And now that we have this, what does this mean? Okay, what does that mean that we have this one here? Well, now I can create another copy. When I make a copy of this one, copy and paste, and I drag it, it's still purple, this one I just made, and the icons over here in your layers panel change a little bit. Okay. The one that has like 4 diamonds in there, that means that is your main one. You make one change to this, and it will apply to all the other subcomponents. This one is just like one outline. This means it's just a subcomponent. Now you're wondering, why are you telling me all this stuff on the second class? I still don't even know how to use Figma. Well, this will save you so much time and so much headaches down the road that it's worth to point out now. And the reason why I do it in the second class is because in the first semester I did this class, I was like, you know what, this is kind of complicated. You know, I'm going to leave it till the end. And I think if the students could have came through the monitor and splashed their coffee on me, and I tell them way sooner in the semester, I think they would have. So, because they're like, that would have saved me hours. So now, the cool thing about this is that we have our main component and our subcomponent. We can still wrap these into our auto layout, Shift A. I can go ahead and do paste. And then like the spacing was 12, so it's super easy to do. And now check this out. Now I'll go to my main component, which is that one with those 4 kind of diamonds in it. And let's say if I ever want to make a change on these, I can just expand that. It looks like a group. I'm gonna take a screenshot because I know screen share is really hard to see. So we've got the logo, thumbnail, and inside that is our rectangle that we made. Like I said, if you know how to draw a rectangle, you're 90% of the way there. Select on that, and it'll start working like a normal layer where we can have our fill and so on. So check this out. So then I have this, and we know all these other ones down here are their subcomponents. If I make one change, it applies to all of them. And the cool thing about this is that it applies this to everywhere on your design file, wherever that component is. So imagine a button. Let's say you want to change the way your button looks or a certain element that is common throughout your entire designs. Because there are things you can do in Figma, like over here. Take another screenshot so it's way easier to see. See here, there's a plus icon. You can create another page in your design. You can call this anything that you want. And let's say I took one of these elements here, copy, page 2. And now if I go over here, completely different file, right? Completely different page, I should say. And I go into my main component and I want to change that color again to like this blue top area. It even applies it to this second page where my design is. So that will save you so much time. And the aligning things will also save you so much time. So getting into that habit early will benefit you down the road for this class. So something to practice, and this is why I picked this one, because there is a lot of alignment here that we get to work through, like with these thumbnails and so on. And we want our alignment to look really sharp. So this is one way to do that without having to manually do it every single time. I hired an intern to memorize them for you. That's why. Let's say this. Yeah. Yes. Well, can you ungroup them to make every box a different color grading? Yes. Okay. So good question. So I think the question is, okay, all of these are subcomponents. Again, I can change, I can change the main one, but let's say this one, we no longer want it to be attached to the main component. You can always right click and it's over here, detach instance. And now you'll see this one is no longer highlighted in purple, but it is in blue, back to our standard default blue color. So I can go in here and change this color. And let's say this one here is our main one. And let's say I want to go change the color to this one down the road. You'll see it did not apply to that one. You can always detach it if you want to. Totally possible. Hopefully that answers that question. If I read that comment right, you can always undo to go back as well. So now it's highlighted purple. Again, so that's the same. Okay, good question. So would it work the same? Would it work vice versa? If I was in here as a subcomponent and I went to go change this one, it's a very good question. The answer is no. And the reason for that is that you can modify and add things to your subcomponents, but it will not apply to that main one. Now, there is a method to send any changes from a subcomponent back to the main component, but that gets kind of risky. For example, the way you do that is over here. I have this highlighted. You'll see over here on the right, again, everything on the right is like our settings and toggle switches. From there is a drop-down menu there. I think it says push changes to main component, which you can do. But like I said, that gets kind of risky because sometimes these components are used everywhere. I don't personally like doing that, but you certainly can. Good question. Thanks for that. The other cool thing that I'll say is once you make a bunch of components, like you're gonna have like buttons, you're gonna have all these things. If you open up your assets folder, which is next to your layers, if we can get another screenshot, it's just right over here. You click on that and you expand what you have there. You get your components available to you that you're making, and you just click and drag them into place, which is pretty cool. Again, it doesn't apply for color, but again, for sizing and so on. It does all that as well. Okay, cool. All right, I think I got all those. Now, let's go back over here. Okay, so the other nice thing is we need to add logos to these, right? Like we had before. And there is a zip file in the chat. I think everyone's got it. Does anyone not have that zip file with that says class 1 files? If so, I can give you the link again. All right, let me go back through the chat here and find it because I think I can link to it so I don't have to paste it all over again. There we go. And copy link. Perfect. Let me know, please let me know if this works. That should work. Yeah, did that work? Did that take you to that link? Sometimes Teams is so difficult to figure out. And you'll, that's probably something you'll hear me say all the time. But again, it provides tons of value because a lot of it is free. And yeah, it's easy, somewhat easy to use, I suppose. Okay, you just go back. Is that linking to the right file? It's not doing it for me. I feel like I need to re-upload that. Okay, yeah, no, it's not working. No, I knew that wasn't working. Just one sec. If you don't have this file. Okay, I think this worked. Files are hard. Okay, here we go. I will drop it in. I will upload a copy. Okay. So this will have all the design files that you need for finishing this design exercise. Okay. So we're back here. Now we need to add that logo. And again, let's just drag from that folder, that one file, and I'm going to drop it in here. Did you notice what just happened there? This one especially just because it dragged right into place. But essentially is I can add elements or design elements to my main component, and then we know it's going to apply to every other subcomponent. So where I added this logo, and again, it's double the size, again, for screen quality. As I resize it, it also resizes on the other subcomponents, which is pretty cool, right? Now, why is that beneficial? Well, again, you saw me again, I had to resize the image and so on and place it, in the middle. The nice thing, because of the subcomponent, and we can have unique content within the subcomponent. Now I can do. All I need to do is go to my next one, and I can double click to click on my image. It'll bring up my fill. So a fill can be an image as well, not just color or gradient. It can also be a video. And all I have to do from here is choose file, which will bring up your Finder, or what's it called on the PC? I forget the name of that. But it will bring you to that, and all I have to do is just select your image and just place it in there, the one that you want next. So we want, that's one logo. We'll go to image. I'll just hover over this. You get choose image, which is to replace it. And we have, where is it? There we go. This is the next one. And the next thing is it's resizing all those images for you. Just click and choose your image. It's super easy now. So instead of kind of fighting with the tool, again, now we're leveraging the tool for it to work for us. Isn't that neat? There we go. And we have that done. Now the same can be done for the second one. And again, I dragged in that image and we wanted the exact same width as this other one. I won't do that again. So 280. And again, this one is going to be a little bit different. We are going to want to make another copy and paste it over here. And we're going to select these, Shift A, puts us into our nice auto layout. Copy, paste a bunch, 3 more times. Now the same thing here. This is just an image. I can just go choose image. And what is the next one? I think it was like The Simpsons. The next one, I'll choose another image. Frozen. I have not watched Frozen yet. And what is the other one? I think Mandalorian thumbnail is one. And what was the last one that I had there? One, I believe. Cool. And just like that, we created that entire UI by, again, leveraging components, auto layout, and then really we're just swapping images in and out. It just makes it way easier than just fighting the tool to create us that look and feel. So even though it took us a little bit to understand what these tools do, to actually implement that design took us maybe a minute, just because we knew the tools to use and leverage, right? Yeah, so yeah, if you want to change, changing the order, good one. With auto layout, it makes it super easy as well. So let's say we want to change the order of this, and this comes up a lot actually in your auto layout. The cool thing about this is we can move this one here. You can just drag this one. You can just click and drag it. And then you get over like almost like 40% of the way, it swaps places with the other one with you as well. So like Frozen, for example, is supposed to be first. I can just start clicking and dragging, and it's going to move the other ones into place just like that. And this is why we use auto layout, because it just makes it super, super easy and convenient to just change our design quickly. And there we go. Now we got the actual layout from that screenshot. And we didn't have to really do much there to get it to look that way. Cool. Now I can sleep at night. Isn't that neat? And you can do it again, obviously, if you wanted to do this for this one, you can do that as well. So that is auto layout. Okay. Which I think is going to be super, super helpful. Now, the last thing that we need is kind of add that title there for the Mandalorian title. Again, why is this double the size? Again, for image quality. And again, I want to try to replicate working with a client or a real product. Sometimes the images will be double the size. Now, one thing I forgot to mention. This is our design. We can click in here, and I am going to go and play to look at our prototype. Here is our prototype on our MacBook. It looks pretty good. Let me show you something else that might happen. I want to move this over here. Now, let me just delete this and move this out of the way. Now, if you have an image that kind of looks like this, right? It looks like it's in the frame. But if I go to my prototype, and this is why clicking on that play button on the top right is helpful, is to double check your work. Is if I go back to it now, that image is missing, even though that image is within my frame. Now, the reason why that is happening is because, and this is going to happen a lot, so I'm going to set the expectation right now. When you are moving images, clicking and dragging them, they will move out of place outside of your frame. And the best way to explain this, actually, I'm going to create a brand new page and just explain this because it's kind of hard to see with all the other layers. I'm going to call this my frame. I'm going to call this like just cropping for now. So I'm going to reduce that so you can kind of see in here. Right now, my image is inside this frame. You can see that there, confirming that it's in there. Now, if I click and drag, and the minute I drag my cursor just outside the frame, it pops out. Now, this is Figma trying to be really smart. They're like, oh, maybe you don't want that image in your frame. And you'll see it over here, confirmation that it is no longer, it's in the top. Couple of ways to fix this. Again, you can always undo. But if you want to move this back in, click and drag, and as you move your cursor back into your frame or out, it'll be placed inside your frame. Now, another way to do this is you can just go to your layers panel, click on the layer that you want to put into the frame, and just drag it and drop it on top of the frame, or just drag it underneath. And now that will work. Even though sometimes it might look like your image is in the frame and it goes out, it's just that it's not inside your frame. And again, you can always get confirmation by looking at your prototype. So that is all that is. Just look at your cursor as you're dragging. The minute it hovers over that edge of that frame, it will place it within your frame. And now you got everything looking the way we want to get. Okay, here it is. Again, hard to describe until you try this for yourself and you see it working. Somebody went, how come I can't see my design in my prototype? Make sure it's inside your frame. Even though it might look like exactly like this is in your frame, sometimes it might not be. For example, I just moved it outside of the frame. You wouldn't have known unless you saw me remove that out of view of the frame, and there it is. It's not there. Even though it looks like it's in there, I always confirm that it is in your frame. Cool. So we recreated this. Now, if we go back over here, you can see that we pretty much recreated this. And if you look at the design files, then anyone know there's something missing. There's 3 design elements that are missing from that zip file that I sent you all. You all know what those 3 things are. It's these icons. You will not see these icons in that zip file. So how are you going to do that? How are you going to get those icons to recreate this UI? And again, you can finish this off. Again, we got the Disney Plus logo. Again, practice resizing. This is why the images are also double size. Resizing, once you do that, will be your friend. And then we got Mickey Mouse in here, right? So we got all this stuff. The last thing I should probably do before we is I should show you about text, how to type in some text. Over here, that T tool, just select it and click in your design and just type in this case home. Okay, we'll talk about text and so on in the next class that I will record for you. All right, but we need those icons. How are we going to get those icons? Well, I'm going to show you, I think, probably one of the best things about Figma is depending where you are in your UI, there's a couple of ways to get to it. But you'll kind of see like this globe looking icon. I can see it. That one right there. And this is the community. When you go to the community, what this is for the most part, I think there's some paid resources now. These are resources that you can leverage for free. Even you can use them in commercial projects. So what are the things that you might be looking for? Well, really anything. So in our case, we're looking for icons, right? So let me just type in icons. You can just click and search, go to files and templates, and look at all these icons. These are icons available for free. Now, if you want to confirm, there is a drop down here, let's say free, and these are all free icons. Some of these, like there's 440 icons, 2,400 icons, and 26,000 icons. All of these you can use for free. And so the way you use these, is the one I like to use is called Iconate. There it is. I see how many people downloaded it, 43,000. Double click on it to get there. And the nice thing is, in every single community project, you can also see the preview of your design. All you have to do is open in Figma and we'll make a copy for you in your design files. And you can just select that file, that icon, and move it over to your design. So just click open Figma. I have multiple accounts. So I'll just select the one I want to use. And we want one with like a TV. So it's up here. I'm going to copy this one. And I'm going to move it over here. Paste. Now, this one is, we know why it's purple. It's because it's part of a component. We know how to change this. So we can expand, click on the layers, and we know how to change the color, right? The stroke. We just want them to be white. And that's how we change that color of our icons. When you get them from the community, there's always some tweaking that you might want to do, but there you go. There is the icon, and you can get the other ones there as well. But let's go back to the community because there is just so much cool stuff. For example, if you are building an Android app and you want to get the UI elements for how to build that, you can go in here, and this file right here, for example, is all the UI elements for the UI for Android that you can use. And the people that actually made this are actually Google themselves. Google's design team made this file that you can leverage. And this is the file that they leverage themselves for like inputs, icons, all that stuff. You can make a copy and just use this design. Let's say you're looking to build a like portfolio for all your awesome work that you're doing, and this in this course that you're doing this term, there's a bunch of templates that you can go in here and make a copy and start leveraging that design. I don't have the icon on my screen or the download. So do you see it in the community? If you go to the community and you type in, I think it was Iconate, it was spelled differently with a K. You can make a copy and it will be in there. The icons won't be in your zip file. Okay. Oh, and I saw that top nav bar. Maybe that's, yeah, maybe. Sorry, Brandon, I don't know if I saw your message there. And I was asking that question. Okay, if you don't, good question. Okay, if you don't see that community, then let's go back to our design because they have changed this a whole bunch. There's another way to get there, which is if we go over here, you're gonna have this icon over here next to your T. You can go in here and you can search, you can go to plugins, and then I think if you scroll all the way down, you can go community, and there should be like browse more in community. If you click there, it'll take you there to this. The other alternative way, again, they have changed the UI a lot in the past year, so it does change a lot. I think there is one in here to get in there. I wish it was a lot easier, to be honest with you, before that was there all the time. Second. Up there. Okay, I think there is a right click. Those are the two ways. And sometimes if you go home or from this Figma button, you can get to it that way. And then sometimes, no, they've complete, okay. And then there's another option down here all the way at the bottom left. It says explore community. When you go back home on your design, and then we'll take you there. Okay, awesome. Cool. The other cool stuff too is like there's, companies, every company seems to be like contributing things here. So like I said, I'm headed down to the Apple HQ for next Monday, and even Apple themselves made these components. If you're looking about designing for Vision OS, they have made resources available there for you for free. So you can leverage that. Just really anything that you're really looking for, you can find the design assets here that you can just copy and paste and then use them as your own. So you want to maybe make a messages app, social app, it's all in here. I don't know what else. Cool emojis. Again, someone's made the emojis there, and you can start leveraging them yourself. Just copy and paste. So definitely leverage the community for all of your designs. What else do they have here? I'm just going to scroll down. What other cool stuff they have? Like mock-ups. So you want to mock up your design again, like the iPhone or a web browser, all kinds of stuff. You can do that there as well. Yeah, let's say we're looking for charts, to put into our design. I'd create like a dashboard UI. You just type in charts, go to files, and there's a whole bunch of charts already designed for you. You can just copy and paste into your designs, all for free. Again, this isn't for the most part, so double check those. But yeah, that's the community. What other things do we want to do? There's some really cool plugins there as well that we'll talk about later on. But definitely explore the community, get those icons, maybe pick your own, totally up to you. Just have fun with it. But yeah, we'll leave it there. Like I said, I really encourage you to take an hour or so and recreate this UI for yourself. Try to go through all the techniques that I just mentioned. So look out for a YouTube video in the chat for Thursday and Tuesday. And then I'll see you all in like a week and a half or so. And we can take it from there. But I know it was a lot today, probably. But again, I just want to introduce you to all of it. Start working, you see how beneficial it is for you to kind of get into the habit of learning how to do it. And it'll just make it super, super easy for you all to just make those changes afterwards. So definitely go ahead and try that. Now, let's see. Okay, we're going to pause class right there. We're good for now. I will also hit stop recording, and I'll see if I can figure out the class.